Welcome everyone, this is X-Wing RLJ with my walkthrough for Subnautica. This is the first video. To start with, you got to pick your difficulty. The only difference between survival and freedom is that survival requires you to manage your intake of food and water, and freedom doesn't require food and water. Hardcore means if you die, it's game over, you got to start over, and creative means you can go in and build whatever you like. So we're going to start on freedom because I hate the food and water process. So obviously you'll start with prologue, cutscene, give you the basic story of what's going on. This is my 5th playthrough of this. First time I played through, I did have to look up some stuff, but for the most part I can figure it all out on my own now. I know where most everything is, and it's a pretty good game in my opinion. I played it twice on the PS4, and this is my second time on the PS5. And bang, you're out. So when you come through, or come to rather, you notice that your pod is on fire and you're kind of stuck. First thing you want to do is get the fire put out. So you're going to grab that fire extinguisher on the ground there and you're going to put the fire out. You need to make sure the fire is completely out. Even if there's a red haze, that means the fire is still there. And if you walk into a red haze, you will catch fire and start taking damage.
You have suffered minor head
As
trauma.
you can see, sparks flying and everything. There's some damage to this pod. First thing you're going to want to do is fix the pod. But before you can do that, you've got to find the materials and craft your tools.
On an alien world, please refer to the data bank for detailed survival advice. Good luck.
Now this is your PDA. This screen here is your inventory. Left side is what you're carrying, right side is what you have equipped. List of blueprints is your second tab. It tells you everything you can build and what you need to build them. Third one is Beacon Manager, which you don't have much use at the moment, but you can build beacons to place waypoints later, and you will also receive several waypoints through the course of the story. Then you have your photo manager. It's an in-game screenshots, basically. This is not to be confused with PlayStation screenshots. Two separate systems here. But any in-game screenshots you take will be saved here. This log is basically every audio that you get in the game. Any audio log, recordings, conversations, everything will be recorded here, so you can go back and reference it whenever you like. It has both the text and you can play back the audio. And then your data bank is basically information about everything in the game. Every tool you make, everything you build will have an entry. Everything you scan, once you build your scanner, will have an entry. And then a lot of the PDAs that you'll find and pick up will also give you a PDA entry, so that helps to expand out the story, provided you want to read it. So your pod does have a little bit of storage. You got a couple of fuses, a couple of bottles of water, and a couple of ration packs, basically. As we're in freedom mode, we don't need the food and water, so I'll take it out and I'll drop it outside to save space. This here's a medikit fabricator. It automatically generates new medikits, so you take one out and it starts making another one. There's two ways out of the escape pod. There's the floor hatch there. There's also a ceiling hatch. For those who are into trophies, your first trophy will pop the moment you exit your pod. Doesn't matter which side you go out, it'll pop. So that is the ship you were on. It crashed, obviously. Now, if you watched my other video on playing this, I said that I thought the topography of the map had changed. It did not. Simply the starting point was in a was in a different location than I had anticipated. That there static cloud is an island, which you'll see in a later video. There's two of them. Both of them are hidden by static clouds. You can see some coral comes up out of the water here. Starting points could be anywhere in this area. So distances and directions may be slightly off as I go through this walkthrough based on that. There is slight variation based on that. But otherwise, there's really no issues. You see, there's nothing to be seen out there. Like I said, you can see that static cloud there. It hides the first island that the story takes you to. The other static cloud, which I'll point out in a minute, there it is, hides another island, a floating island. By floating, I mean exactly that. There's nothing under it. It doesn't go to the seafloor. There's a creature holding it up. So first thing you want to do in order to make your equipment, your tools and stuff, is to gather materials. Now, these are acid shrooms. They're one of two ingredients needed to make batteries. Acid shrooms and copper is what you need to make batteries. Now, this metal salvage you'll find littered all over the landscape. You want to pick up a bunch of it. Not at first, just keep a little bit, but it turns into for titanium. Titanium is probably the most heavily used ingredient in the game, so you're going to use a lot of it. To begin with, though, you want to come over here and you want to grab a few of these. It makes two different things. It makes some silicone rubber, and it makes lubricant. Now this is the limestone that breaks, and it'll give you either copper or titanium. There are other types. There's shale, there's sandstone, and a couple others, and each of them have their own different types of materials they'll drop. It's like sandstone will drop gold, lead, and silver, respectively. But you want to go and you want to grab a bunch of these. You need copper to start with. You need titanium to start with. You need the little yellow bulbs from the seaweed that I showed you. You need that to start with. There's a few other things you'll need. One is cave sulfur. Let's go back up here and fill up our air first. Cave sulfur, there's only one way to get it, and that's to get it out of these little pods. The problem is these little fish come out of those pods and they chase you, and when we get close, they explode just like that, which causes damage. But after they do that, you can go down there and you can pick up the cave sulfur out of those little pods. And you need that for a couple of things. You can make flares with it. Your repair tool needs it. So to begin with, you're going to spend a lot of time just kind of exploring and gathering materials and getting your equipment built, your starting initial equipment. Your first wetsuit is going to require silicone rubbers. You want to make sure you get some of that. A few pieces of equipment is also going to require lubricants. You want to make one or two of those. Now the bulbs, those yellow bulbs, creek seeds, as they're called, take up 4 inventory slots, as does seaweed, which you'll need a little bit later. But once you refine them into whatever material you're turning them into, it only takes up 1 slot. So the first thing you want to make is your fins. They help you swim faster. And the second thing you want here is the standard OT tank, which will increase your oxygen size. Now, as you make these pieces of equipment that you wear, it automatically equips them, so you don't have to do that manually. But when you go to upgrade them, you'll have to unequip them manually in order to upgrade them, because they are used in the manufacture of the upgraded item. So now you can swim faster and you can hold your breath a little longer. Your oxygen went from 45 to 75. Building that first oxygen tank unlocks the second one, which you need a few more materials for. Silver ore, glass, which is made out of quartz. It's more titanium. Your repair tool. You got the cave sulfur, you can make that. And then you can fix your pod. Your scanner. Your scanners are very important because you can scan any living thing, plant or animal. With a few exceptions, there are some plants that are basically just kind of background. So take your repair tool, fix your pod. Some of the things you scan will unlock blueprints. Others will just give you more information, especially if you like to read that kind of stuff. So now you've got your pod repaired, 2 slots of the pod repaired, your radio and controls. Now your radio, anytime there is a message you want to, or the red light will blink, and you'll want to listen to that, and you'll get a usually you'll end up with a waypoint from it. But like I said, the red light blinks anytime you have an incoming message.
This is Aurora. Distress signal received.
This one doesn't give you a
Rescue
waypoint.
operation will be dispatched to your location in 9
See progression in the story.
hours. Continue to monitor for emergency transmissions from other life pods.
Throw some of these materials in there, free up some inventory space. You're definitely going to want to do that. I forgot to drop the water and the rations, so I'll take care of that here in a second. Since I don't need them anymore. Now that I got my scanner, I can scan things. And every time you scan something, like I said, it adds a entry into your data bank. A nice thing about the fish, it's hard to keep them targeted while you're scanning. So the nice thing about it is that even if you lose the target acquisition, as long as you don't start scanning something else, you can continue from where you left off. You saw I grabbed that fish. Doing so gave me 2 blueprints, one for cooked fish and one for dried fish, or cured fish rather. It also gave me a blueprint for a airbag, so to speak. Basically what that is it inflates and helps you rise to the surface of the water faster if you're running out of oxygen. Obviously it will not help you much if you're in a cave. Some of the blueprints you'll get will come from scanning plant life, animal life. Other blueprints will come from scanning pieces of technology, broken technology laying on the sea floor or inside the Aurora, your crashed ship. Just to make you aware, let's see, here's some quartz. We're going to need a couple of those so we make glass. Just something to keep in mind, you're going to want to go to your crashed ship, but you do not want to go there until after your till a few days after you land. There's going to be an explosion, and it's going to cause a radiation exposure or release, whatever. You don't want to go there before that, because that is when you will automatically receive the blueprint for a radiation suit. You will need the radiation suit because you will have to repair the housing, the nuclear housing of the engines. And since it's the walkthrough, everybody ought to know that there's spoilers, obviously. But like I said, much of your first hour or two is going to be spent just kind of exploring the local area, scanning things, and gathering materials. Now you could probably get through the game without scanning any of the plants and animals, but you will definitely need to scan bits and pieces of technology. Most technology items, such as the laser cutter, or the sea moth, or the cyclops, require multiple scans of different pieces of technology. Handheld equipment typically takes 2 scans, and vehicle type equipment usually takes 3 scans. Exception is the cyclops, because it has 3 parts, and each part requires 3 scans. So you need a total of 9 scans to build the Cyclops submarine. Now, if you die in this game, as long as you're not on hard mode or hardcore, you will simply respawn. You'll drop some of your materials and respawn wherever the game decides to put you. Usually it's in your base or at your pod, or your last time you were saved. Typically, not always. Usually puts you where you can breathe, so it might put you inside your Cyclops sub if you have it built already. You will drop some of the stuff you're carrying, but it's not lost. If you can make it back to where you died, you can pick that stuff up off the floor, off the sea floor, or cave floor, wherever it is that you died. Distances can be a little confusing sometimes, but it all has to do with perception of your character. They do a pretty good job with that, though. So you want to continue to gather materials, continue building up your equipment. Yeah, still need to see silver ore for that next upgrade for the air bladder. That's the one I was telling you about. Grab that fish, it gives you the blueprint for the air bladder. It's reusable, so you only need to build one. You build it, takes a fish and a piece of silicone rubber, and it constructs that. The key there, though, is the way this works is the fabricator here takes the materials that you have on hand, breaks them down into their basic elements and compounds, and reconstructs them in the as the whatever item it is you're trying to build. At least that's the best way to explain it. I don't know how. Now, you do have limited storage, obviously, so you want to try and target what you need for the next piece of equipment you need. Built battery. Many of your all of your tools use up batteries, battery power, or operate on batteries. So as they drain, you'll need to replace them, and then you'll have to recharge those batteries. But you don't have a battery charger yet. You'll get that before too long. In the meantime, you'll just build whatever batteries you need, and you'll get a blueprint for power cell, which requires 2 batteries. And you can save yourself some trouble because you can use batteries that have been completely drained to build your power cells, saving you the need to recharge them for one. And when the power cell is built, even though you use 2 dead batteries, it's got a 100% full charge. So now we've got our flashlight. You definitely need a knife. Table coral, grapevine, which is that seaweed stuff. You can only collect those using a knife. And unfortunately, knife is pretty much your primary weapon in the game. There will be a couple other things. There was stasis gun, which pretty much freezes your creatures or whatever. But the game is not heavily involved in combat. In fact, primarily you're supposed to try and avoid combat, because most things in here can kill you relatively easily. Or most of the things that will attack you can kill you relatively easily. There's a few exceptions. Those little fish that explode don't really kill you. They only do about 25 to 30% damage. Stalkers do a little more damage. Sand sharks do a little bit of damage. Those ones will all usually just hit you and then swim away. But if you don't leave, they'll come after you again. But you can survive single hits from them. Leviathans and Reapers, those are a different story. They're huge and can do one-hit kills. You'll also find along the seafloor, many places, eggs of various colors, shapes, and sizes. You can collect these, but I would not do so until later. You can't scan them. Don't pick them up until later, though, because you won't be able to do anything with them until you build an alien containment in your future base. Okay, so you're going to find these little crates, these cargo crates. Inside these, some of them, on the ones that are open on the back, you will find pieces of equipment, like the one I just scanned. When you scan it, it disappears. That there is a stalker. When you scan it, it disappears. Sea Glide. It's a handheld rotor. Basically, you hold on to it. It's basically a boat motor that you hold in your hand. If you've seen any type of Navy SEALs movies or read books about it or whatever, that's pretty much what it is. It just pulls you through the water. So there's a grav trap. There's the beacon that I mentioned earlier. You can build those and make waypoints. As you can see, though, that one of two. Took 2 Sea Glide scans. Now, if you already have the piece of equipment that you're scanning, when you scan it, it will disappear and will give you titanium. So that's another way to get titanium in the game, is to scan equipment that you already have blueprints for. So what I'm looking for now, really, is the sea moth parts. You just scan 3 sea moth components in order to build the sea moth mini sub. Among other things. I'm still also gathering materials, obviously. See, that right there is an egg I was telling you about. See, as I scan it, the titanium. You see the titanium dropping down into your inventory because you already have the. I already have the Sea Glide blueprint. Now, Sea Glide requires a lubricant. If you remember, I mentioned that earlier. So because we gathered that earlier, I already have it made. Of course, that's just one of the materials it needs, but copper. Those are some more more eggs. You can see they're different color, a slightly different texture. There's other ones that are oval shaped. But the game will never tell you what type of animal comes from the eggs. You'll have to find that out by actually hatching them, which you cannot do until you get the alien containment.
Silver-based
There's some silver.
are an essential component of many
Need that.
habitat modules.
Like I said, sandstone will give you silver, gold, or lead.
Short-range
Lead is needed for the radiation suit. There's some salt. You'll need that later to make hydrochloric acid. If you got a tool equipped in your hand, like right now you got the scanner, it's one hit to break it. Whichever these, limestone, sandstone, shale, whatever type of material you're breaking. If you're carrying a tool, you hit it once and it'll break. If you're not carrying a tool, it takes 2 or 3 hits. We got another message on the radio. Go ahead and build what we're working on first. This material here can be used to make first aid kits if you can need one and your fabricator doesn't have one ready for you. Copper wire, definitely need that later and even earlier. So I've got the blueprint now, so I just need a battery and a lubricant. Okay, I got copper already, so I can make a battery using a couple of these shrooms. Got the lubricant. Now I can make the Sea Glide. Sea Glide is, like I said, basically a motor you hold on to and it pulls you through the game, or through the water, sorry. It's your fastest way to travel until you get to Seamoth. Seamoth is the fastest way to travel in the game, however, it has some depth restrictions that you just cannot overcome. Anyway, so this is coming up to the end of this video. Like I said before, I'll say it again, the beginning is basically minor exploration, gathering materials, and building your basic tools. So I will continue to gather some materials so that the next video I'll be a little bit further ahead and I can start showing you the next steps. Thanks for joining me. This, like I said, if you like this, go ahead and hit the like button. Constructive feedback is always welcome. Thanks for watching.